Welcome, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be with you today. We are here for another episode on the cycle of courage. Today, we are talking about connection. Connection unleashed, harnessing the power of connection to elevate our everyday courage and what that will look like, what it means, and why it matters. I'm your host, Jessica Stong, and as always, I'm honored to be here with you as we dive into topics that truly matter as we guide and walk together through this maze of emotions, choices, actions, what it means to be human. We're here together and we're just walking through this together. So as you know, I developed the cycle of courage it started in graduate school, and I've been doing research on it ever since. Courage is a quality of everyday heroes. It's reserved for all of us. And I think so much about this that oftentimes what we envision to be courage is actually, it's the small steps that we take every day. It's getting out of bed when it's so hard. It's dealing with a child who's going through difficulty. It's truly speaking your mind when your knees are quaking. It's the little things in life that we often dismiss, because of cognitive distortions and how our brains work, but it's really the way that our brains are set up and just are really wired. So we have this remarkable way that we can harness our everyday courage. And there are 4 pillars to the cycle of courage: cognition, connection, commitment, and change. And probably 2 to 3 episodes ago, we dived into cognition, how our thoughts can prime us for courage. And if you haven't listened to that episode yet, I highly recommend it. Of course, I highly recommend it. I recorded it, but it lays the groundwork for what we're discussing today. But you don't have to listen to it to be able to understand this when we talk about connection. So I invite you to grab a cup of tea or coffee, take a deep breath with me, and let's embark on another journey into understanding the architecture of courage. So let's just dig into what is connection. When you hear the word connection, Theo, my 7-year-old, thinks about his Wi-Fi signal, let's be honest here, or the relationship we have with our friends and family if we're going to make it sound nice, right? But in the cycle of courage, it's deeper than that. It's multifaceted. It is our connection with ourselves, which involves cognition, which involves understanding how our thoughts and our emotions impact the actions that we take and the results we get. It's understanding who we are. So it's our connection with ourselves. It's the connection with others, those outside of us, whether that is friends, family, anyone that we are connected to. Albeit that we now have this great way of connecting with others via the internet like this. I feel connected. I feel connected to each of you listening. And that's an interesting dynamic, one that we probably won't talk about today, but we will get into it. And then our connection with the divine, however you might define that. I see it as God. I use Jesus's relationship in my life, but I want you to define it how you define it. And for me, it's this relational aspect of courage, the energy source that charges our courageous actions. And so we're going to dig into that. And, a lot of times I say it's this 3-tiered structure and almost that forms the bedrock of our lives. And so I went through this, that the first tier is always about you. It's about your understanding. I think of this as in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it's been altered slightly a lot. But we think about self-connection, that innate, intimate understanding of who we are and what makes us tick. And there are various ways for us to enter into this understanding and this knowledge. But this is really a friendship that we cultivate that I think so many of us, I know for myself, I often don't consider myself as like that best friend that is cheering me on, that cares deeply. And so once we can change that, once we find that, we then find the courage to be who we truly are, to speak our truth, to follow what our dreams are, to admit our faults. And this all starts with that self-connection. It's hard to be brave for something that you don't believe in, or understanding yourself helps clarify what matters most to you. So I think about that. I think often about the second tier, and that's the relationship with others, the people around you, and you get to define what that means. As I said, for me, it's the people that I might not even meet, but I feel connected. I think of this as social capital. You guys know, if you've studied sociology, and one of my favorite books of all time, Bowling Alone, that it was written over 20 years ago. It's this idea that we find solace, we find comfort in knowing that we're not alone, in the wisdom that is shared amongst close relations, that we are not alone in this. It's the support necessary to make courageous decisions. Whether it's our sister's encouragement or a friend's advice, these connections are a treasure trove of emotional and psychological support that means so much. And then finally, our third tier, which is our connection to God or the higher power. And it's that spiritual dimension. It's the religious, spiritual, the existence of something greater than ourselves. And sometimes as a spiritual director, I'm totally down when you're like, I actually don't know what I believe. And that is it is doing the exploration. It's defining it for you, and no one else can do that. And so this connection, all our connections with the divine or with understanding that spiritual relational piece of our lives, elevates courage from an individual or social act to a divine one, and that we are responding to our call on our life. It puts small but significant acts of courage into the grand tapestry of life, making them both humbling and empowering. And it's such a big part of what we talk about in this work. And so when we're talking about connection within the cycle of courage, or as a pillar of the cycle of courage, we're looking at the holistic ecosystem that drives our action, that is the ecosystem of relationships. And so each tier complements the other, and it sounds like they're tiered and one's better than the other, but they are all essential for courage, that we need to navigate the complexities of our life. You guys have heard me talk about why connection matters. And I feel this is a very hard thing for me to talk about sometimes, because I know it matters, but what I do when I feel overwhelmed or depressed or anxious, I avoid social connections. I avoid connection with myself. I avoid connection with God. And so we know that connection is this thing that we need, and it's feel good, it's something nice, but oftentimes in times of crisis, a lot of us back away and we numb out. But we know it's necessary and important, and we see all the research on the benefits to our our life, how long we live, our longevity, but yet it is second or third to other things like making a living and doing all the things. But connection serves as such a crucial function within the cycle of courage. So I want to talk about why connection is indispensable for courage. Well, first, I think about trying to navigate a ship through stormy seas, which I wouldn't be doing because I get motion sickness, without a compass. But let's just imagine that for me, right? This is akin to being courageous without self-connection. If we don't have that internal compass, we don't know where we're going. We don't know where we're supposed to go. When you have a deep understanding of your own values, your own strengths, what your limitations, you have a compass for life storms. If you understand what makes you tick, what drives you, that intrinsic motivation, this serves as an internal roadmap which directs you to the kinds of acts you need to take. The courageous actions that will align you to who you truly are. It helps us avoid the pitfalls of false bravado, I think, when we're not saying it's all on me or foolhardiness even. It's our emotional and moral GPS, so to speak. I just love to use stories here. I think about our connection to others, and it is indispensable. We thrive in community. We all do. We all need community. We're wired to connect. We have mirror neurons. We're wired to seek approval, to help. We want companionship. But it's not just that it feels good. Our social connections are a treasure trove of resources for courage. When faced with daunting challenges, the encouragement of a loved one can help tip the scales. Supportive relationships also provide that safety net, making the stakes of courageous acts less threatening. I always think like we're in the storm and we're trying to drive, and if we have someone next to us, helping us hold I don't even know what that's called, the driving thing. Maybe I should have looked this up before I started using it as an example. When you're in a ship, the steering wheel, it's not called that, but you guys know what I'm trying to, it's like collective courage. Your brave acts always, I believe, inspire others, whether you know it or not. So I think a lot about that. And of course, we think about all of the Psalms that talk about the calm waters, or how we are connected to God. And many courageous individuals throughout history have cited that higher power as the reason that they're able to take courage, or take heart and take courage as a source of their strength. I think about Martin Luther King Jr. I think about Rosa Parks, Malala, whose last name I cannot pronounce, drawing courage from their belief systems. The spiritual connection often serves as a catalyst for what matters. And this is because when we have a sense of purpose, when we have a sense of calling, divine calling, it transcends our small existence, and we understand it in the grand scheme of our spiritual realm. And when we believe our actions are part of a larger tapestry, we then can make choices. The risks feel smaller, and we can choose for ourselves. The implications are grander. So I believe that by nurturing these three forms of connections, you're essentially building a robust system for courage. And we focus on this in the cycle of courage. When you're really working to decide, like, how do I live my life in a way that means something? We talk about this. We know that courage doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's communal, it's individual, it's a divine endeavor. So how do we foster connection? You guys know that I love to give, what is it? Homework? Is it homework? Do we want to call it homework? Challenges. And I call them courage challenges. And so I have a courageous connections workbook. I don't know why that was so hard for me to remember what it was called. And it goes through all of these. So let's just say it is how many pages? I'm looking at it right now. It is 26 pages free for you to go through. It talks about what we're talking about in this podcast, in this video, but it also then encourages you have a 30-day Courageous Connection Challenge. And so what you're going to do is you're going to decide, do I want to connect with myself? Do I want to connect with others? Do I want to connect with God? And you're going to design an intervention, so to speak. Like, let's say you want to connect with yourself. You might start meditating. You might start journaling. You're going to look for activities that get you into remembering who you are and what makes you tick and what, get you into the flow, what makes you lose track of time. And for me, the way I'm connecting with myself lately is through knitting. It might be cooking, it might be painting. It's where your true self shines, where you're able to drop the to-do list, the noise of everyday life, and you're able to just sit and be. It's that, you guys know I love the book by Mikhail Chimen something called Flow, and it's such a great book. I'm butchering, that's the second last name I've butchered, and I've tried to memorize those two last names and I can't. So let's say that your 30-day, or maybe you just want a week-long challenge, is connect to others. This is important. For me, I'm also doing this after I've connected with myself and reestablished those good habits that make me feel connected. I then reach out. So I might text a friend every day and just say, I'm thinking of you, because I often think of people, but then because of ADHD and just being busy, I forget to reach out to them. So it might be just saying, I think I'm thinking of you. It might be you want to recognize someone, how grateful you are for them. It might be celebrating someone else's victories. It might be being there for someone in need. You get to decide what this might look like for you, but consistent action. What we're going to do over these 30 days is do something once a day. We're going to do, it's small, it can be so small, but you're going to do something, and it might be different every day, but you're going to do a connection challenge. You might want to connect with God. You might have, rituals that you do, or things that help you, practices that help center you. For one time I did centering prayer for 30 days, and it changed my experience of God. What makes you feel connected to the divine, and what would you want to do more of? It's not just prayer. It might be prayer. It might be journaling. It might be, I love praying in color. I love praying the Psalms for 30 days. Reading spirit poetry can provide a sense of higher connection. And by fostering these connections, you're not just enhancing your life, well, you are, but you're laying the groundwork for acts of courage that can and will define your life story. So to me, courage is not a solo act. It's a beautiful tapestry woven with threads of connection, and that's what we're doing. So I believe that every action we take, every act of courage, whether big or small, is fueled by the connections we've nurtured. And this is over these 30 days or 7 days or whatever challenge you want to, we're really setting a foundation for courage. When faced with a challenge, your self-connection helps you evaluate the situation or system or whatever you're faced with clarity. And it's like having a personal advisor on your shoulder who's like, I got you. I know your strengths. I know your limitations. I am your best friend. I'm going to help you navigate this. That internal guide, rather than freaking out as I am wont to do, right? It might be collective courage. You might want to ask your friends for stories of courage, of small acts of courage. Maybe that you remember how someone showed you courage or showed courage to you, and you want to remember that and write that down. Or maybe you want to remember how your courageous acts take on a larger meaning in the grand context of the spiritual realm. So it's this grand narrative. So I want you to think about that every action you take over these 30 days or 7 days, whatever it may be for you, is fueled and is fueling your sense of what you are able to accomplish. The cycle of courage becomes complete when connection is woven into its fabric. It's not complete without connection. Your thoughts, rooted, yes, in cognition, provide the directions. Your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships steeped in connection offer the momentum. And then your commitment ensures that you won't waver, and the resulting change is a testament to your courage. So you're gonna go to livesofcourage.com, or if it's easier, jessicastong.com. You're gonna decide on your connection challenge. It might be 7 days, it might be 30 days. You're gonna decide, am I gonna connect with myself, with others, or with God? And I want to hear how it goes for you. I know this is asking a lot, but if you want, please send me a message on the Instagrams or send me an email, hello@jessicastong.com, and tell me how it goes. I am just so honored to be walking alongside you. I'm thrilled that you will be embarking, if you so choose, on this transformative journey to explore the triad of connection, those personal, social, and spiritual connections. And I want you to go download the free workbook that will delve more into these connections and look at what they look like. You're going to get a fun workbook. So as we wrap up today's conversation, it's my hope and prayer that this inspires you to make a choice, to choose an action today that's going to inspire more repeated acts of courage over and really build that renewed appreciation for connections in your life. Connection, we know, we've seen, is not a mere add-on. It's fundamental to our experience as humans and is a cornerstone for courage. So in our hyper-connected world, I say it as I record a podcast and I love it, I want you to remember that there is a wealth of opportunity for connection. It is not just with others. And so please think about what might make a big difference in your life today. What do you need? What is your soul crying out for right now? And really remember that courage isn't these great big bursts of adrenaline. It's a foundation. It's the small acts, and it's the connections that we're going to cherish and nurture. So as we dig further into the cycle of courage in the next few weeks, I promise in the upcoming episodes, it might not be back-to-back cycle of courage because I like to mix it up. Remember to reflect, connect, and act with intention. That is your invitation today. After all, life's most profound moments often come when we have the courage to face the unknown, bolstered by the connections around us. So I'm so grateful that you joined us today. I would just ask, if this episode happened to resonate with you, could you please share it with someone that might appreciate it or might need a reminder or just needs to hear from a voice that is cheering them on? It means so much that I get to do this, and I'm just so grateful for your help in spreading the message of courage wide and near and far, right? Until next time, stay brave, stay connected, and have a great and courageous week. Thanks so much, sweet friends.